Hey guys, so welcome back to Indirect Knowledge. So this is Chandra, and tonight I have a tarot reading for Andrew. So we did a tarot reading for Andrew a while back. So Andrew wants to know. Let me just go back here for a second. Andrew wants to know. Well, he would like to get some guidance regarding the kind of mindset, decisions, priorities, opportunities, things to look out for, and just pretty much get some general direction for how to go from where he's at right now in order to get to a more hopeful state that's anticipated to show up for him within about 3 to 4 months or so. So I'm just trying to think of the best way to do this because I've been picking up a couple of things with this, and sort of like the murky water kind of effect right now for me. I'm picking things up. I'm getting some fragments of things coming in. What I want to do is I'm going to get some clarity here a little bit, kind of find out what we can do to help Andrew. And I know the right solution's coming. I do feel that is a given. So we're going to shuffle these cards and pull things from the bottom. That's the card. I'm just going to go ahead and pull these out. I'm just going to go ahead and place them. That's our answer. Yep. Oh, wow. Great. Okay. I got it. It's like it just came to me. So I get it perfectly clear. So Andrew, good news on that front. I don't know. Sometimes, it's like I get these fragments and they're just like, it's like messages, like lots of little messages, tiny messages that are like fragments. This is kind of how I can describe it to you. And these fragments, they start to they're vibrating kind of at a high energy to where they're almost inconceivable. And then they start to kind of slow down and stuff, and then they start to kind of piece together until they form this whole. And then I get this big picture, and then I kind of understand, and I get more insight, and then more and more things seem to come. And the more that things come to me, the better answer that I can give you, the better tarot reading that I can give you. So in that vein, we have what we need. So this is good. And I think I can really help you with this. So guys, let's go ahead and move forward. So let's look at the past, present, future. We'll look at the answer. We'll look at where the energy surrounding the present moment is. We'll look at kind of where Andrew is at with things and what have you. And then we'll look at really the temperance card, which is going to be the outcome card. Giveaway. All right, so let's get going. So the first card that we have is the Three of Wands. Wands are about creative energy. Threes, well, threes are sometimes about family in some readings and that. It's about talking with experts, getting some ideas validated, getting some guidance. That's what this card is really all about. It's this approval. You want to get people vested in your ideas. That's what it's all about. That's what the past was really about. Getting people on your page, basically. Now, the current situation, we have the Hierophant. Hierophant, you guys can see that too well. I do apologize. We're under a tornado warning and stuff, so things have been a little crazy today. Weather-wise, yeah. Anyway, Hierophant is really about the Hierophant's about tradition, culture, identity, our core beliefs, the things that we relate to with other people in our social circle. These are commonalities that we share, the underlying value system that we share together and stuff. So that, let's just say, for example, like everyone in your life was to disappear tomorrow, right? And you're by yourself, you're alone, you find yourself without any family, friends, anyone to connect with, no cell phone, nothing. Your values, or the things that you stand for that represent who and what you are, what you would naturally probably do in that kind of a situation is you would gravitate towards what's familiar, right? And what would be familiar? Well, what would be familiar would be those things that from childhood on, that just kind of became you. And those are the things. It could be the church you've attended, or the religious or spiritual beliefs that you have. It could be the kind of society that you lived in, political groups. I mean, it's all of these factions that just, there's many of them, but they all kind of, when they come together, they kind of define who you are, or kind of give kind of clues as to who you are. Other people could look at, where you go grocery shopping, where you live, what church you attend, what religious leanings are your preferences, all these kind of things. And when they do that, they can get kind of a profile or a makeup of who you are, kind of a personality, but not even personality. I mean, they might get a sense of your personality based on these things. It could be completely off balance. But the thing is that when you're in a situation and you're without any kind of resources or people or anything like that, the things that have been there for you, the rocks that have been your foundation, those are the things that you tend to get clarity, and those are the things you tend to lean on. So a lot of times this could be our own beliefs, or it could be our own past behaviors. These are the kind of things that are familiar and comfortable to us, and those are the kind of things that we get support from. Okay, well, it makes sense. And you see, like with the Hierophant, you see those pillars there, pillars right there and a pillar right there. Pillars are about support. They support us. They give us kind of like they give us kind of an inner sense of peace, like an inner sense of comfort. They're comfortable. We feel like we're safe. There's a sense of safety there with them. That's kind of where things are at right now. And in the future, we have this Nine of Cups. 5 months from now. That's what I'm picking up. 5 months. So we talked about 3 or 4 months and all. This is right around 5 months. And this card here is really all about contentment. It's about contentment with both material possessions, material career, job, money, finances, all these kind of things. Your sense of safety that comes from a sense of being grounded, and the grounded things that ground you are the things that you can lean on, for support. Still, that's like your money and your finances, your job, these kind of things. You can be in a good situation with that. But this card is also, especially with the cups here, it's really also about relationships. And in particular, Andrew, this is like with the wife and that. And this is a total sense of satisfaction. The 9 in this cup card and stuff, the 9 of Cups here, 9 is representative of the moon. So like in the moon card and stuff like that, it's where things are not always known. There's sort of that veil or that darkness that pervades everything, and the moonlight just gives us a little bit of perspective. Well, it causes us to really focus just on what we can see and nothing else, right? That creates a tunnel vision. It's very hypnotizing. And those kind of situations, we only can see what we can see and nothing more. And so nothing else exists for us. But in reality, when the sun comes out and things start to become illuminated, we realize that there's a lot more to this whole thing than what we can really recognize or understand. Now we've got, as we move forward a little bit, we have this answer card. And the answer card is really kind of like the key that unlocks the door for us. It's sort of it's kind of like the light bulb going off in the head. Like when we're getting things, sometimes we just need a little something to kind of trigger that, what is really the answer here? What is it that I'm missing? What is the missing piece that I should be paying attention to, but I just can't figure out? Well, that's what this card is really all about. And this card is the 4 of Pentacles. Now, in this particular case, the 4 of Pentacles, this is a miserly person, okay? They're holding on to this money tightly. They're holding on to their foundation. They're not letting go of things. So like when you see this person here, this is really the answer to things. It's like not letting your life get too out of control. Keeping balance, keeping yourself grounded. That's really, really honest to goodness the key. That's the thing that maybe, if you're spending money too crazy and all, what happens? You start to feel a little uneasy if all your money starts to slipping out your fingers. I'll give you a really good example of what I mean by this. I had a friend one time and this person was an older gentleman, and he had worked hard his whole life, and he made pretty good money in the job that he did. I think 6 figures, if I'm not mistaken. And he did it for a lot of years. And then he decides one day to just retire early. He had a lot of money. He had a lot of, he had a good run with it. But When he did, he decided that should something happen, he wanted to kind of like just leave the door open, that if he wanted to come back, he could. Here's what happened. It was really interesting. Even though he'd been making six figures for years and he'd saved up, quite a few $100,000. I don't know if he was a millionaire or not. I don't think he was. But he had his house paid for, had his family mostly grown. I mean, he still had some teenage kids in that. But here's what happened. When he went to retire and stuff like that, it did something with his relationship. Him and his wife, they weren't, they had just not been around each other too much, because his job took him on airplanes around the world and this and that. He was a sales rep. He did a lot of this kind of stuff. And so he was used to being gone a lot, and she was used to him being gone a lot. And so when he was around all the time, it's a little bit different situation. That's not, that wasn't the dynamic for so many years. And so it was sort of like a shock to both of their systems. Well, what happened is that, the money started disappearing quickly. I mean, believe it or not, you're not working anymore and stuff. You've got a whole different, what are you doing? You're spending money, and that money is just slipping through your fingers and all. So, eventually as a year or two or three passed, like all the hundreds of thousands of dollars just went out the window. I mean, for someone that's, that's maybe never even done that. Maybe there's people in this country, believe it or not, that's probably never made more than $15,000 in a year, if you can believe that, compared to the person making six figures. But the person that's, it's really hard to conceive of somebody just being able to blow that much money. Like if you haven't ever made very much, but that's what happened with this guy. And he was losing. I mean, he was just spending it, faster than he could make interest and everything on it to sustain his lifestyle and all. And the money was going and going and going. So finally what he did is he realized real quick, in a wake up call moment, I got to get back to work. I got to start, getting this money back that's been going through my fingers and that, that's kind of what this guy is, emblematic of. He's trying to, you can hold on to it a little bit, you're holding on to it tight because you're nervous that, hey, you know what, things have been not so great lately. There's a disconnect here. I need to start holding on to things, not be spending so much money. And I need to figure something out so that I can get, bring in more money and that kind of thing. But there's a problem with being miserly. I mean, not only does it kind of make you, in the eyes of other people, it's not considered really a great quality, because it's almost like you're afraid of losing money. And if you're afraid of something, you might just manifest that or bring that into your life. So you don't want to be too miserly. And if you're too miserly, you're not sharing your wealth or your resources with other people and all. And so people might call you cheap, or, they might call you miserly, so that's really what this card's all about. So and that's your answer. So what this is really saying in this particular circumstance is, I'm not telling you that you need to hold on to your money, or you need to hold on to your relationship and, at whatever cost or whatever. It's not about that. It's about just realizing that the things that you're afraid of, the things that you're so attached to that you're afraid of losing, those things can enslave you. Okay. And they can keep you from valuing, really the more important things in life, the things that go beyond money, go beyond, day-to-day life, those kind of things. Here's the thing. What this key is for you, what the answer here behind this whole thing is that it's okay to you definitely want to kind of keep a grip on your life, on your relationship, and you want to pay attention and focus on these things. That's what this card is really telling you. But at the same time, it's telling you that sometimes in life, you've got to put other things first, and before the things that you're driven to try to hold on to. So if it's the money and stuff like that, or the good job, or the lack of a good job, or maybe you're trying to get something back and you're focused so much in that direction, it could even be a business. So like if you're involved in a business type of activity, maybe you're putting so much energy and effort into that you're letting other things kind of slip. And if you're slipping up in that regard, you're going to get a little backlash, that just is kind of a natural response. So, you want to kind of avoid that if you can, try to keep a little bit of a balance. It's okay to be a little bit, driven in a certain direction. We all have our own natures, and some people, their business is what they're about, whether they're making $1 million a year or $1 billion a year, they're just so driven. And that's just been so part of their life that other areas of their life can be affected because of that. So you got to kind of keep a clean kind of a balance on things and not let yourself get too out of control one way or the other. With this particular thing and all, it's okay to have a little bit of attachment to things. I mean, we're just naturally prone to that, right? I mean, when something comes in our life, I'm saying it's okay, but I'm not saying that it's okay. I'm just saying that in the context of living, in the context of everyday life, it would, if you are attached to the job, fine. If you're attached to the wife, fine. If you're attached to whatever, fine. But here's the thing. The key is to not be attached to being attached. So it's sort of a more meta level there. What I'm really driving home here is this point of like, if you're worried about safety and security, you can put some focus and energy and attention on that, okay? If you're worried about the relationship with the wife and maybe the relationship is not going exactly the way that you planned, or you would like to get it to a better state or a better place, how do you eat an elephant, as the old sales adage? And what does every salesperson tell you? One bite at a time. It's sort of a cliche, yeah, I know. But here's the thing. It really is applicable to your situation here. How do you get your life to the place that you want it? How do you improve the relationship with your wife and get it to kind of the ideal state or a place of happiness, or a place where she's happy, you're happy, and things are going really good for you guys? How do you get the job and the money and those kind of things figured out in the same vein? You do it in really the same way. You do it one step at a time. I saw something recently. It was something about, it was an advertisement or something, and it was, someone was commenting on, I forget what it was, something to do with like the stock market or something like that, or investments. And they said, well, how do you save up a certain percentage of your income every year? And I think the magic number was like 15% or something, if I'm not mistaken. And the professional was saying, you do it 1% at a time. And that 1% at a time, in your first year of saving money, you might not be able to save 15% of your income. Your next year, maybe not either. But if you just try to focus on like a small thing, like maybe 1% improvement, and then maybe 2% improvement, 3% improvement, eventually you're going to get to the place where you have that 15% improvement. And then maybe beyond that, then at that point you can go to 20% or 25%. There's people I've known that have been able to save 90% of their income and live off of the 10%. I think there was a case study about maybe the person that started J.C. Penney's or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. This was a person that they got to a place in life that I think this was a nice spiritual story that someone had told me. He got to a place in his life where, he gave 10% in tithe. That was 10% to God. And then he got to a place in his life later on where he kept increasing it until, toward the end of his life, he's giving not 100%, but 90% of the money and keeping only 10% for himself because it was more money than he needed. He'd become fabulously wealthy and so on. But his whole thing was giving more than he's taking, but he didn't let go of what he needed. He had enough to live on, and he was trying to be practical in that sense, but at the same time, once it became ridiculous and just out of control, it's like, what is this money doing for me? Nothing. I mean, so why not use it to help other people? If I have a gift of being able to create wealth, why wouldn't I just, create enough wealth for what I need, and then everything else I can just give away, help other people that are not so good at creating wealth. And trust me, guys, there's a lot of people in this world that are not good at creating wealth. A lot of people suffer every day. There's a lot of different things. Our jobs, if we're sufficient or adequate in certain directions, is to give back. Why not? What does it hurt us? It just helps other people because we can give the best of our strengths to help others, while others, hopefully, once they get their help and it balances out, and then what they're good at, they can share back with society and give back in the same way as well. So anyways, that's a little food for thought on that. I got a little off track with the reading. Do apologize for that. But the point of the matter is this one here, it's about just watch what you're attached to. Like, don't be so attached that, what you're attached to starts to leave, and that tends to be the thing when people become too attached to something, is that they become so worried or so obsessed about it that it starts to leave the reality. That's really the cautionary thing here. But that's really your answer right there. It's just to relax a little bit with it, but at the same time, it's okay to focus on the things that you feel are important, and have attachment to those kind of things in that way, but just don't be so attached to them, like in the material sense. All right. So the next thing that we have to move on is just to go on with the reading and stuff. We have the Hierophant. We talked about that being traditions, things that are our core identity, those kind of things. Well, the energy surrounding the Hierophant in this particular read and all, it's very, very fascinating. We have the moon. Okay. So the moon is mysterious, right? The moon, like I was saying before, is like, it's one of those, it's like it's like you can only see part of something, right? It's a maddening kind of thing. It's very hypnotizing and all, you know. You see a tame dog, a wild wolf, and they're both howling. You know, it's like that, whoo, you know, and that kind of thing. But anyways, with this here, you've got the moon and its mysteriousness and its hypnotizing effects, and it's shadowing what's not seen. It's hiding things. You know, not everything is revealed. Not everything is so much seen in that. That's really the energy surrounding this Hierophant. So it's like, you know, it's you know, it's a very focused state of like tunnel vision, like in terms of our value system and things, the things that we feel are important. You know, those are the things that we feel great attachment toward in that. You know, those are the things that really help us to feel like we're a part of something. And the moon and stuff is very hypnotizing. It really causes us to narrowly focus our attention in a certain direction. It causes us, you know, it's about negating our negativity or our hesitations, our doubts, our disbeliefs, our critical thinking. Sometimes we overanalyze things, overthink. And then, of course, it's very mesmerizing. The moon is, you know, it's something that we can get caught up in and then lose track of time. It's something along those lines. So it's about trusting your intuition. It's about, this is a card of dreams, you know, it's about like, and it's really about the unknown. And so all these kind of things start to come to the surface. And that's really the energy surrounding the Hierophant. So very, 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 very powerful position is where you're at right now. Things that concentrating is, these are really good because they're going to lead you to that 9 of Cups that we talked about, having control over the relationships, control over, you're going to feel really good really soon about things. I said for that particular card about 5 months and all. Before in the other reading, I said between 3 and 4 months and all. I'm kind of picking things up maybe more closer to the 5-month mark and stuff, but really just, I'm talking a really, really powerful place at this particular point. As you're moving toward this point, though, things are going to really happen for you naturally. And the way that they're going to progress, or kind of the advice and stuff that I can give you in terms of moving forward, is that, you know, keep yourself focused on who you are, you know, the things that are important to you. You know, that's what your wife is crazy about. You know, that's what she appreciates. And all, whether she says it or not, there's a part of you that she's identifying with as well, you know, and so there's that kind of thing. So be in tune with your true self, be in tune with the things that you feel assimilated with, like in terms of your spiritual beliefs, your practical beliefs, your everyday beliefs, you know, just in terms of your philosophy, your value system, your vows, things of that nature, and all. Stay in tune and realize the importance of those things, and then just every day, just say, if you improve just 1% a day, in 100 days, you're 100% more improved than you were. You know, that's really the key. It's about, not about like sudden growth or sudden action, reacting to things in a sudden way. It's really about taking these small, steady, incremental things that are almost unnoticeable. And why are they unnoticeable and all? Because of the moon. We're so hypnotized on the here and now that we don't really see changes happening. But if you can focus just and make it your habit, you know, almost like a habit of self-improving every day, just a little tiny bit, something that's almost not noticeable to most people, maybe not even noticeable to yourself, but you do it just a little bit every day, where you're like, okay, this doesn't really feel like I've done anything today. And then the next day you're just like, this doesn't really feel like I've done anything today. And the next day, and so on and so forth. But then you go back a week later and you look and you're like, well, goodness, yeah, you know, I got quite a bit more achieved than I had anticipated. So yeah, I see a little bit of, I can measure this a little bit now. You can't measure it in the day to day, but over time you can, you know, like, because you start to see significant shifts in terms of your improvement and as you move forward in that. The next thing too is the energy of kind of where you're at, you know, and we talked about tradesmen, I think before, if I'm not mistaken, I can't remember 100%, but this was that 3. Now we started the deck off, with the 3, and that was the 3 of Wands. If you remember, that was the first card. That was the past card. Well, this is the energy of things to look forward to in the future. This is kind of our attitude about things, kind of in the present moment when it comes to this Hierophant and our value systems and everything. And it's really about kind of this completion of a goal, completion of a plan, making the most of our talents, refining our plans, finding our skills rather, and then being able to really, turn a profit or, get some reward from, from our efforts, and then being able to rise above other people to really become the best, version of ourselves that we can be in the industry that we operate within, in the services that we do, and this, and this. So that should always be kind of like, when you're moving, like I was talking about before, where you're taking these incremental moves, that should be at the back of your mind. You should be thinking to yourself, I'm getting better every day. I'm getting a little bit better every day. I'm getting a little bit better every day. But in the scheme of things, eventual, I'm not saying it has to happen overnight or today or even next week or in the next couple months. But as you go forward with this plan, your goal is to always be becoming better and better and better. Well, one day you'll be so good that you'll be the best of nobody can touch you. Like nobody will be able to touch you in that vein. Same thing with doing service. As monks, we do service and we try to help people in the best way we can. It's my intention. It's not always so transparent to me or maybe to other people, so on and so forth. But it's my goal, like when I'm doing these service activities and all, is to be able to serve a little bit better every time. Like every time I do some service project or something, it's to give a little bit more of myself, more and more and more, until eventually, I'm doing so much service or I'm putting so much of my heart and my energy, my talents and efforts and everything into what I'm doing that eventually, and this is not about ego whatsoever. It's just that other people will look and say, well, this person is just amazing. They've done so much, but it's not about that. Like I said, it's not about ego or what other people think in that. It's just how much more can I serve, because it's in my heart that's really what my mission is, or what I feel like, like my dharma is, like what it is to help other people in that, so, and I'm just using myself as a reference here to hopefully maybe kind of help you or bring some light on things. The thing with it is that when you have this, when you have this kind of attitude of constantly self-improving or constantly trying to do better or to do things in a little bit nicer way, every now and then, you may find yourself at a plateau. And that can be like, wow, why hasn't anything happened? Why hasn't anything happened? Well, go back to the 1% thing I was talking about before. Just when those plateaus happen, say, okay, you know what? I may have hit a little plateau here. Big deal. I'm going to start to work on 1% again. And that little 1%, you do the next day, try to get another 1% increase, another 1% increase, another 1%. Again, a week goes by, look at your results, and you'll see that plateau it's not a plateau anymore. You're seeing an increase again. So that's really what it is. For yourself or for, just people watching this video in general, just kind of as a general rule, if you're following this kind of advice, or if this makes sense to you to do, don't do it if it doesn't make sense, but if it does make sense, try it out. This idea or this goal of becoming kind of the best version of yourself, or like really being the best that you can in your industry or your field, your occupation, that kind of thing, in the way that you care for others, and just whatever the action is, whatever the activity is, at some point, like the famous gymnast Simone Biles, I believe, she's amazing. They've created names of some of the gymnastics moves that she's created. Why? Because no one else has been able to do them. I mean, she is so fantastic. She is so the best at what she does. She's untouchable. And how did she get there? A lot of hard work. It's about that 1% increase. She went through a lot of hardships too. I mean, the whole thing with the coaches and anyways, we won't get into all that. But the point is that if you want to make yourself the best version of yourself that you possibly can, you got to, you move yourself a little bit at a time and you adjust accordingly. If you find yourself, moving in the wrong direction, you can kind of redirect your course and get back on track as you see fit. The other thing too is the outcome. Let's look at really where the outcome is for you as far as taking this initiative, doing this planning, following this advice and that. It's really all about patience, and that's temperance. And that was what I was telling you about in the beginning of this reading, before we even did the reading and all, is kind of the giveaway card, and that was temperance. So temperance is really about balancing things out in order to create the best concoction. You see this cup, and you see this cup, and you see I don't know if you guys can see this too well, but there's a cup here and a cup here. And what's happening is there's taken a certain quantity of liquid from this cup and putting it into this cup, and they're creating the perfect combination, the perfect mixture here. And it takes a lot of patience to get it right. But once you get the perfect formula, it's like, who's that guy that created the cookies or something like that? I'm trying to think. Otis Spunkmeyer cookies, was that the guy? And I think he was, if I'm not mistaken, his backstory was sort of like he couldn't read or something like that, or he had he learned to read or something like that, and it took a lot of energy and effort, but he ended up creating like the perfect cookie formula, and people loved his cookies. And anyways, I think eventually he became fabulously wealthy by making cookies, the most ideal cookie. He just learned to make a cookie better than anybody else could make a cookie. But how did he do it? He did it the same way that temperance is making the concoction that temperance is doing. You took a lot of patience, a lot of trial and error, a lot of just really testing until you can get things right. And as you do that, eventually you get the best concoction that is possible, through tasting and through, just putting it out there and trying, how do you create anything? It's over, like inventors, people like Einstein, people, that have created a lot of things in their life, that today we take for granted, like electricity and stuff. A lot of experimentation, but there's a lot of energy that goes into that but once you get it, you're golden. I mean, things are good for you. So here's the thing. Overall, as far as like relationship, getting all the parts of your life and everything together and all, right now it's about leaning on who and what you are. It's about, valuing what you value, being in tune with that, in touch with that. It's about, those are your resources. Those are good places to start. And it's, those are people that you're going to feel comfortable around. Probably your wife, probably your social circle, and that kind of thing as well. And then in the near future, like 5 months out, things, materially and relationally, things are going to really, mobilize for you and just really pick up. And if you follow the advice that the cards are giving you about this 1% progression, just getting a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better every day, you're going to really start to shine. And then just the final thing, as far as your outcome goes, this thing is to just say, okay, you know what I'm doing, I need to focus on how do I get it right. It's going to take a little bit of time. I mean, you're not going to get it right away, but as you're experimenting and you're getting things better and a little bit better and a little bit better, give yourself a little bit of time, 3, 4, 5 months, you'll be fine. And then that 4 of Pentacles, that was really the answer to all of it. Don't hang on too tightly to things, and don't play it too safe is, I guess, what I'm trying to say here. Don't be overly attached to things. It's okay to have kind of a attachment to your direction or where you're going and stuff, good focus, but just, don't play it too safe, because then you might stymie your growth. That tends to be the case. It's like the person that puts all their money in a safe and they don't invest it or do anything with that money. What happens to that money? Well, inflation happens, and their money becomes devalued just naturally over time, and what they used to could buy with that money, they can't buy anymore with that money. So it's sort of that whole thing is you got to make things work for you, and one way of getting things to work for you is to not like hinder that what's the word I'm looking for? It's not to hinder yourself. Don't be your own worst enemy. And that's really what the key is here, is don't be your own worst enemy. Try not to overthink things too much. Try not to hold on too tightly to the things that you feel like you never want to lose and that kind of thing. Let things go a little bit. Give yourself a little bit of momentum. Let your efforts start to pay off and work for you, and to actually bring in some residual for you. And as you do a little bit at a time, over time, what's going to happen? You're going to see a lot of results. And like I said, about 3, 4, 5 months out, things will be vastly different for you than what they are today. And a lot of it is not going to be noticeable. And when you get to 3 or 4, 5 months out, by the time you get to 5 months out, things will be greatly better for you. But you're only going to be able to recognize it by really reflecting back to today. So if you want to be able to see kind of like, if you want kind of a, what is it, a measuring stick to be able to kind of measure your results, my best advice is get a little journal or something like that. Write everything down in terms of where you're at today with things. And then when 5 or 6, 4 or 5, 3, 4 or 5 months comes about, that when you hit that 5th month, 5 months out exactly, go back, look at where you were. But before you do, write down where you're at now, and then look and see where the difference is. And you'll see a dramatic improvement in terms of where you were versus where you were to where you are today. Anyways, I hope that this reading has helped you, Andrew. Guys, if you have any questions or any advice for Andrew, please leave them in the comment section below. I always love doing these videos and trying to help people in the best way that I can. And again, it's my goal here also is to try to improve these videos a little bit, maybe 1% here and there as I possibly can, in order to bring more value to all of you guys watching. And so if there's anything I can do to improve, please let me know. For financial reasons, I can't really improve the quality of the video. I know that there's some fuzziness in the video and different things like that. But I'm a monk. We take a vow of poverty. And really everything that I do is based on donations. If you want to help the monks, you're always welcome to do that. You can just go to helpbydonating.com. You can donate there. And if you specify that you'd like for me to get a better webcam or some better technology to do better videos, I'll gladly do it. Otherwise, we'll play it simple, which is fine with me. Just keep them coming the way that they have been, and we'll just kind of keep moving in that direction. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. If you want, please subscribe to the channel. If you want, hit the bell notification. You'll get notifications on your smart devices every time we come on to do these videos. If you have questions or anything while I'm on the air, please feel free to hit us up in the chat. Some people do, some people don't. We'll go ahead and answer those questions if you need. I try to do some mini readings here and there if we have the time to fit them in. And guys, thanks so much again. I hope to see you guys on the next episode of Indirect Knowledge. Everyone, I will see you in the next video. Love and blessings.